Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the English Learning Podcast, where we make learning English simple, fun, and effective. I'm your host, Jason, and today we're talking about a challenge that many of you might be facing: how to practice English without a partner. Whether you're just starting out or trying to improve your fluency, this episode is for you.
That's right, Jason. Hi, everyone. I'm Julia, your co-host. You know, one of the biggest struggles English learners talk about is finding someone to practice with. It can feel lonely or even frustrating, but don't worry. We're here to show you that you don't actually need a partner to improve your English.
Exactly. In fact, practicing alone has its own set of benefits. We're going to share practical tips, tools, and techniques to help you build confidence, improve your skills, and have fun while learning. So, stick around till the end. You don't want to miss this.
Before we dive in, don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you're new here, and make sure to check out our playlist for more episodes like this. All right, Jason, are you ready to get started?
Absolutely, Julia. Let's talk about why practicing English alone is not only possible, but also super effective. Let's get started. All right, let's talk about why practicing English alone is so important. A lot of people think that without a partner, it's impossible to make progress, but that's just not true. In fact, practicing alone can give you more control over your learning. For example, you can focus on the areas where you need the most improvement, whether that's pronunciation, vocabulary, or grammar.
Exactly, Jason. And you know, practicing alone also means you don't have to worry about making mistakes in front of others. You can take your time, repeat things as many times as you need, and learn at your own pace. That's a huge advantage, especially for beginners who might feel shy or nervous when speaking English.
Absolutely. Plus, when you're practicing alone, you develop self-discipline and consistency. Think about it. If you can stay motivated and make progress on your own, you're building a skill that will help you not just in English, but in other areas of your life too.
That's a great point. And let's not forget that practicing English alone doesn't mean you're entirely isolated. There are so many resources available today, like apps, online videos, and podcasts, like this one. These tools act as your virtual practice partners, so you're never truly alone in your learning journey.
Exactly, Julia. And here's another thing. When you practice alone, you can create a routine that fits your lifestyle. Whether it's 10 minutes in the morning or an hour in the evening, you're in charge of your schedule. It's all about making English a natural part of your daily life.
Right. And remember, learning a language is like building a muscle. Even small, consistent efforts add up over time. So practicing alone isn't just important, it's actually a key part of becoming fluent.
Well said, Julia. So, for everyone listening, don't feel discouraged if you don't have a partner to practice with. You have everything you need to succeed right at your fingertips. In the next section, we're going to bust some common myths about practicing English alone, so stay tuned. Now, let's address some of the common myths about practicing English alone. There are so many misconceptions out there that stop people from making progress. One of the biggest myths is, you can't improve your speaking skills without a partner. Julia, have you heard this one before?
All the time, Jason. But here's the truth. While speaking with a partner can be helpful, it's not the only way to improve your speaking skills. There are so many techniques, like shadowing, where you listen to a native speaker and repeat what they say. It's almost like having a conversation, but you're practicing solo.
That's such a good point, Julia. Another myth I hear a lot is, practicing alone isn't effective because there's no one to correct your mistakes. What do you think about that one?
I get why people might feel that way, but it's not entirely true. While it's nice to have someone correct you, there are tools that can help. For example, apps like Grammarly or even voice recognition features on your phone can help you catch mistakes. And let's not forget, self-correction is a skill you can develop. The more you listen to yourself and compare it to native speakers, the better you'll get.
Exactly, Julia. And here's another myth that holds people back. Learning alone is boring or lonely. Now, I'll admit, practicing by yourself can feel a little monotonous sometimes, but there are ways to make it fun. What do you think, Julia?
Oh, definitely. You can turn your learning into a game. Use apps with gamified features, watch movies or TV shows in English, or even sing along to your favorite English songs. The key is to mix things up and find what excites you. Learning doesn't have to be boring at all.
Absolutely. And here's one final myth. You need to spend hours every day to see results. This one really discourages people, but it's so far from the truth. Even short focused sessions of 10 to 15 minutes a day can make a big difference. It's all about consistency, not the length of time.
That's such an important point, Jason. It's better to practice a little every day than to overwhelm yourself with long sessions once a week. Remember, listeners, don't let these myths hold you back. Practicing alone is not only possible, but also incredibly effective when done the right way.
Exactly. And now that we've cleared up these misconceptions, it's time to get into the good stuff. Practical tips for practicing English alone. Let's dive into that next. All right, now it's time for the practical part of today's podcast. Let's dive into some effective tips that you can start using today to practice English alone. Julia, what's the first tip you'd recommend?
My first tip is to talk to yourself in English. This might sound a little funny, but it's incredibly helpful. You can narrate your day, describe what you're doing, or even have imaginary conversations. It's a great way to practice forming sentences and thinking in English.
That's a fantastic tip, Julia. Talking to yourself helps you get comfortable using the language, even if no one else is around. Another great tip is shadowing. This involves listening to a native speaker, maybe in a podcast or a movie, and repeating exactly what they say, trying to match their pronunciation, rhythm, and tone.
Yes, shadowing is such a powerful technique, and it's not just for pronunciation. It helps you get used to natural sentence structures and expressions. My next tip is to use recording. Record yourself speaking English, whether it's reading a paragraph or talking about your day. Then listen to the recording and identify areas you can improve. It's like being your own teacher. I love that one, Julia. And here's another tip. Read aloud. Grab an article, a book, or even a recipe, and read it out loud. This helps you work on your pronunciation, pacing, and intonation. Plus, it builds your confidence in speaking English. Absolutely. And don't forget about using technology. There are so many apps and tools out there. For example, you can use language learning apps like Duolingo or Babbel, or voice recognition features like those in Google Translate to check your pronunciation.
That's a great suggestion. And speaking of technology, another tip is to immerse yourself in English media. Watch English movies, listen to podcasts, or read blogs and articles in English. The key is to surround yourself with the language so it becomes a natural part of your daily routine.
Yes, immersion is so important. And here's a fun one. Use music. Sing along to your favorite English songs. It's a great way to practice pronunciation and rhythm, and it doesn't even feel like studying.
Great point, Julia. And for learners who like structure, creating a practice schedule can help. Set aside specific times each day to focus on different skills: speaking, listening, reading, or writing. Consistency is key.
Exactly. And don't forget to set goals. For example, aim to learn 5 new words a day or record yourself speaking for 3 minutes every morning. Having clear, achievable goals keeps you motivated and on track.
Those are all fantastic tips, Julia. So, for our listeners, remember that practicing English alone doesn't have to be overwhelming or boring. With these tips, you can make steady progress and enjoy the journey. In our next section, we'll wrap up with some final thoughts and encouragement. Stay with us. Now, let's talk about how you can incorporate listening and speaking exercises into your practice routine. These two skills are the foundation of good communication, and the best part is, you don't need a partner to work on them. Julia, why don't you start us off with a listening exercise?
Sure, Jason. One of my favorite exercises is active listening. This means listening to something in English, like a podcast, audiobook, or a YouTube video, and really focusing on the details. For example, try to catch key words, phrases, or even the speaker's tone. After listening, challenge yourself by summarizing what you heard in your own words. It's a great way to test your comprehension.
That's such a good exercise. And to add to that, you can use dictation exercises. Listen to a short audio clip and try writing down what you hear. Then, compare your notes with the original script or subtitles to see how accurate you were. This helps with both listening and spelling.
Exactly. And for speaking, a great exercise is role-playing. Pick a situation, like ordering food at a restaurant or introducing yourself at a meeting. Then practice speaking as if you're in that situation. You can even write down a script beforehand and use it as a guide.
Role-playing is a fantastic idea. Another speaking exercise I recommend is imitation practice. Choose a short video or audio clip featuring a native speaker. Play a sentence, pause, and then repeat it, trying to match the pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm. This helps you sound more natural.
Yes, Jason. I also love the question and answer method. Write down a few questions in English and answer them out loud. For example, what's your favorite hobby? Or what did you do yesterday? This forces you to think in English and practice forming sentences on the spot.
That's such a practical exercise. And here's another one. Use voice assistants. Apps like Siri, Alexa, or Google Assistant are perfect for practicing spoken English. Ask them questions, give commands, or have short conversations. They're surprisingly good at understanding different accents.
Great tip, Jason. And don't forget to practice listening for accents and dialects. Try listening to English speakers from different regions, like British, American, or Australian English. This will train your ear to understand various accents, which is incredibly useful in real-life conversations.
Absolutely, Julia. And for those who enjoy challenges, try combining listening and speaking exercises. For instance, after listening to a podcast, pause and try explaining the main points aloud as if you're teaching someone else. It's a great way to practice both skills simultaneously.
That's a great idea. Listeners, remember that these exercises don't require a lot of time, just consistency. Even 15 minutes a day can make a huge difference in your progress.
Exactly. And in our next section, we'll wrap up with some final thoughts and encouragement to keep you motivated. Stay tuned. Now, let's talk about creating a daily practice routine. One of the best ways to make consistent progress in English is by having a structured plan. Julia, why is a routine so important for language learners?
Great question, Jason. A routine helps you stay consistent, and consistency is key when learning a language. Even small daily efforts can add up to big improvements over time. Plus, having a routine makes learning less overwhelming because you know exactly what to do each day.
Exactly. So, Let's break it down for our listeners. A daily routine doesn't have to be complicated or time-consuming. Let's start with how they can organize their day. Julia, what would a simple routine look like for someone who only has 30 minutes a day?
Good point, Jason. If you have 30 minutes, you can divide it into 3 parts. Spend 10 minutes on listening, like watching a short video or listening to a podcast. Then take 10 minutes to practice speaking, maybe by repeating what you heard or talking about your day. Finally, use the last 10 minutes to focus on vocabulary or grammar.
That's a great breakdown, Julia. And for those with more time, they can add other activities like reading a short article or doing a writing exercise. For example, they could write a paragraph about their day or describe something they recently learned.
Exactly. Another tip is to use theme-based practice. Pick a topic for the day, like food, travel, or hobbies, and focus all your activities around it. For example, listen to a podcast about travel, learn travel-related vocabulary, and then practice speaking by imagining you're at an airport.
I love the idea of themes. And here's another important point. Set specific goals for each day. Instead of saying, "I'll practice English," say, "I'll learn 5 new words and use them in sentences," or "I'll record myself speaking for 2 minutes." Clear goals help you stay focused and motivated.
Yes, goals are so important, and don't forget to review what you've learned. At the end of each week, take 10 to 15 minutes to go over the vocabulary, phrases, or grammar points you practiced. This helps reinforce your learning.
Absolutely, Julia. And here's a bonus tip. Make it fun. Incorporate activities you enjoy, like watching your favorite TV shows in English or playing language learning games. The more enjoyable your routine, the more likely you are to stick with it.
That's so true, Jason. And one final thing, be realistic. Start small, especially if you're new to creating a routine. Even 10 minutes a day can make a big difference. The key is to build the habit and gradually increase your practice time.
Great advice, Julia. Listeners, remember that your routine doesn't have to be perfect. The most important thing is to show up every day and keep practicing. In the next section, we'll share some final thoughts and encouragement to keep you going strong. Stay tuned. All right, as we wrap up, let's talk about something every language learner struggles with at some point: staying motivated and consistent. Julia, why do you think staying motivated is so challenging for many people?
That's a great question, Jason. I think it's because language learning is a long journey, and progress isn't always immediate. It's easy to feel discouraged when you don't see results right away, but the key is to remember that small daily efforts lead to big changes over time.
Absolutely. And staying consistent doesn't mean you'll never miss a day. It's about building a habit and not giving up even if you hit a rough patch. Julia, what are some ways our listeners can keep their motivation high? One of the best ways is to set clear, achievable goals. For example, instead of saying, "I want to speak English fluently," set smaller goals like, "I want to learn 10 new words this week," or "I'll practice speaking for 15 minutes every day." Achieving these smaller goals gives you a sense of progress.
One of the best ways is to set clear, achievable goals. For example, instead of saying, "I want to speak English fluently," set smaller goals like, "I want to learn 10 new words this week," or "I'll practice speaking for 15 minutes every day." Achieving these smaller goals gives you a sense of progress.
Great point. I'd add that celebrating your achievements, no matter how small, is also important. Did you finally understand a whole conversation in a movie? Celebrate it. Did you speak a few sentences in English without pausing? That's worth celebrating too.
Yes. And another tip is to remind yourself why you're learning English in the first place. Maybe it's for a better job, to travel, or to connect with new people. Keep that reason in mind whenever you feel like giving up.
Exactly. I also recommend mixing things up to keep learning fun. Try new activities, explore different resources, or switch up your routine. For example, if you've been practicing vocabulary, take a break and watch a funny English video or listen to a song instead.
That's a great idea, Jason. And here's another tip. Find a way to track your progress. Use a journal or an app to record what you learn each day. Over time, you'll be amazed at how far you've come, and that can be a huge motivation boost.
Definitely, Julia. And let's not forget the power of a positive mindset. It's okay to make mistakes. They're part of the learning process. Instead of saying, "I'm bad at this," say, "I'm getting better every day." A positive attitude can make a huge difference.
Absolutely, Jason. And finally, surround yourself with English. Even if you're practicing alone, you can immerse yourself by reading, listening, and thinking in English as much as possible. The more exposure you have, the more natural it will feel.
Great advice, Julia. To all our listeners, remember, motivation comes and goes, but consistency is what brings results. Keep showing up and don't be afraid to try new things. You've got this.
Exactly. And we're here to support you every step of the way. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we hope you found today's tips helpful. See you in the next episode.
Until then, happy learning and stay consistent. Bye for now.